Sky Power FM Radio from studios in West Yorkshire here in Leeds. My name is Mustafa Jame Adisid, saying good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone who is listening and watching at the minute, wherever you are on planet Earth. Our topic title is Impact of Foreign Investment in the Gambia. We'll be talking to Suleiman Ben Suara, who will be with us any minute from now. Mustafa Jame is my name. Good evening. Ben, if you just stick with your mobile phone, keep watching. We'll try to get all of Suleiman Ben Suara. We'll be taking us through this very important topic titled Impact of Foreign Investment in the Gambia. Impact of Foreign Investment in the Gambia, outright topic title with Suleiman Ben Suara. Sky Power FM Radio, Impact of Foreign Investment in the Gambia. Very important today. Welcome to our meeting.
Hello, good evening to you, and good evening to all the viewers, and good afternoon and good morning to all the people watching from other destinations.
Thank you, Suleiman. Welcome to the program. Our topic title, Impact of Investment in the Gambia. This is something that has been going on, and I don't know if something that is continuing. So I would like you to take us through this. Do you think impact of foreign investment does have any impact on our economy or in the Gambia?
Thank you very much. Very, very, very interesting topic. And I think to answer that question would be, there's no country or nation that can exist now without trading. And we are interconnected. It's a global world. It's a globalized world, and trade is part of what we do in order to have a sustainable development. Then foreign investment is quite important. No country can be an island. Even the developed countries still, seek out for foreign investors to invest in their country. More so, Gambia, that's a developing country, a country that came out from 22 years of dictatorship, literally bankrupt in all sense. I think Gambia, I believe one of the areas that we have to work on is to encourage, to have responsible foreign investors to invest in our economy. But as I said, as important as it is, we have to do it right. And we can't do something right when we don't plan right and have the right people in place to implement what is been programmed. It's a quite interesting topic, very important, especially where we are now. As far as I know, we have not attracted any major investment into the country, and I think it's time that we discuss these issues to see where are we failing or where we should be going, and try to engage among ourselves and engage the authorities in order to exchange ideas and have and do things right, because we don't have the choice again or the chance to have it wrong. We need to have it right this time around, because it's a competition, and we shouldn't be left behind.
Right. When it comes to investment, and the Gambia young when it comes to. So, foreign investment is advantages.
Yes.
And then there's win-win and lose-lose. So when it comes to Gambia, we are ready for this, and then what do you think we need to be in place before we get foreign investment?
I would the approach I would want to take would be on points. One would be looking at the need for investment, and the other is the planning and promotion and protection. Planning, promotion and protection of investments. And the other part would be how to empower, under that protection, how to empower indigenous businesses, Gambian businesses, to have have ownership of part of the sectors of the economy. And the other bit would be the creating a conducive environment for responsible, sustainable investment. And finally, we will have to deliberate on these issues. But as we already said that we need investment, we need domestic and we need foreign investment. But because we belong to a globalized, world, we are open to markets. We have to trade in order to have sustainable growth, but we need to plan it. We need knowledge. Knowledge is very important, and we need to understand ourselves. We need to understand our strength, and in order, once we know, understand our strength, then that's where we can plan from that position of strength in order to sell the country and to make sure that we are doing it right. And during this process, that's where the promotion will come in. Then we will know the markets, to the areas that we need to open up for investment, and the areas that we think that we need a sort of a protection, like in many countries, there are things like energy, things like water resources, things like these are national security issues, matters. How much control do we have on this. These are basic needs and necessities of citizens, of the people. How much control do we have, on this? We can have open, liberalized market policies. We can have all these things, but I'll tell you, every country have a level of protection. And if we say the word protection might be too heavy, but in a sense, we can say that there's this thing called, keeping it sustainable. Sustainability is the word being used, which is very vague in a sense, which implies a lot of issues, things. And one of the thing about sustainability is ownership. How can you make sure that this business continue and benefit the people, and benefit the country as well? And then obviously, if that's the case, you cannot just leave that investment to go. You can see different countries in the world have something that they protect for themselves. Like Israel, they protect their defense industry. That's what makes Israel. Other countries, United Kingdom, open up their markets, their energy and everything else. But if you study it well, there's a bit of protection there. The company might be other European country. The company might be even Asian, but always the agreements are drawn in a way that there's an element of control. There's a way and oversight that makes sure that the country benefits and the poor country is protected and insulated, so that will not be exposed to forces that would end up destabilizing the country. This is very important. And if those things are very important, when we need the right people to be on board, thinkers who can draw up the plan. We need a plan. We cannot just say that we are open up and or have outdated policies. We inherited from the dictatorship, or in fact, at times we can even have good policies, but we don't follow the policies. In the case of the Gambia, we have witnessed where the president himself appointed individual at the president's office as a person responsible for investment, a permanent secretary responsible for investment. This is something just to an example that after having a the GIPSA, the promotion authority, after having a trade and employment ministry, what's the point of having someone, the president controlling, the investment board? This is tantamount to corruption. This is tantamount to undermining the other authorities. What's the point of the other authorities if the permanent secretary for investment is not within the Minister of Trade? If the permanent secretary of investment is more powerful than the agency GIPSA that is to promote investment into the country, then there's no point having all these policies when we don't practice the policies, or we don't have the right people to look after the policies, or we don't have people not only with knowledge. We need people with integrity, because if people don't have integrity, they will not protect the interests of the people. What they will do is they can just sell the products, or sell the country as a product. And what motivation will they have is not to develop the country, but to develop themselves. These are issues that need to be looked at first. Have this plan, but have the right people to draw the plan, and have the right people to be safeguard this plan and implement the plan, and that's the way we can move forward. Then we will need infrastructure. We will need the right infrastructure as well, in order to attract that investment or to make that investment possible. But after understanding ourselves, knowing our strength, then that's where it comes to strategically put the infrastructures that we need in order to attract the investment that we require. And yeah.
Osman, how do these measures or control measures take place? Need to put a credit on all the investors? Or is it about knowledge or policy? What is it all about?
Yeah, I would start again from leadership. You see, we'll always come back to reward leadership. we'll need that leadership in place after putting all the other sectors. Because one thing is, we have to be a country that have a zero tolerance to corruption. We have to have a policy and a country that is seen and known to be not empowering corruption. Then in that case, then we will have the right people to supervise or to run these industries or to run these policies. Then that's where it will start from. But as we said, after creating the plan, having people to implement the plan, and obviously we have to sell the plan. Then we have to prioritize. We have to look at what areas do we really in need, and once you are open for market and you are constituted right, then you will attract the right investors. The cowboys will come in and all the others will come in, but they will always already find a system and a mechanism that would deter them, because they only operate in conducive environment for themselves. If the environment is not conducive for them, that's where they get the message that we don't tolerate corruption. We have point of contacts. We have people responsible for things. We don't have middlemen that will run you to the president. We don't have middlemen that run you to the minister. What we have is people, an agency that operates, and that agency have policies and guidelines. And these are the people, agency that you have to operate, and then it will escalate it to the, if it's necessary, to have the executive, to intervene. Probably the magnitude of the investment would need the executive push, the minister see it right, that would need support from the executive to encourage the investment. Or to seek some guarantees, because some investment might seek guarantees. They might want to sit with the president, then let be. But not to be having anything that would undermine this process. We have to have a system, and that system have to be followed. That structure have to be put in place, and that capacity have to be in place. And then that structure, communication have to be right. That's the selling of the country or the portfolios we have. Then the people will come in and they will have to follow that due process. That due process is important to be in operation. If we don't have that due process in operation, if we have a middleman all over the place that can just pick up anybody from the street or at the airport or the seaport or anywhere else, any entry point, and rush them straight to the minister or rush them straight to the president, I'll tell you that's a conducive environment for people who we don't wish to have investment in our country. But if we do it right, I'll tell you the right people would be, the environment be conducive for the right people to come in and invest in that country.
Right. If you just turn the volume of your radio or the audio device next to you, because it's echoing while I'm from that end.
Let me try again. How about it? The volume? It's on full. How's it now?
Right. Okay. That's fine. Okay. If I may come here, Suleiman, is it good to do honesty? Because even if we have all these mechanisms in place, we don't have honest people. How do we go about this? It's about honesty, loving your country, and what's honesty in this.
Yeah, that's why I said we'll always come back to the point of leadership. We will have to have the right leaders in place. We would have to see the leadership coming from the executive down. And this thing is not something that can come from the bottoms up. These are things that should come from the top down to make sure that the policies are respected and the structures are respected, the system in place is respected, and that due process is followed. You see, I'll give you an example of the opportunity we have. You see, at times people think that small is a disadvantage. Some Gambians will tell you, oh, we're so small, we cannot have a market for this. No. There's always something right for your market. There's always, if you understand your strength, then you work onto your strength. I'll give you an example of a country we are very similar to, which is Lebanon. You see, I'll give you a fact file on Lebanon. Lebanon is a country inhabited by 4.5 million citizens. 4.5 million citizens live in Lebanon, but you have 14 million Lebanese citizens living outside Lebanon in the diaspora. That is 75% of the citizens of the Lebanon lives outside Lebanon. But the importance of this is the citizens of Lebanese extract that live outside Lebanon, they are the main resource. They are the strength of the Lebanese of Lebanon. They took their diaspora as a source of strength, not as a source of weakness. And the other part of Lebanon is Lebanon speaks three major languages: Arabic, French, and English. We only speak English. What that tells you is education, the importance of education. Nothing stopped the Gambia from having a curriculum that would empower Gambians to speak more than one language, so that we be more attractive to investment. You see, another point of Lebanon is that have a 99% literacy rate. Not even in the Western countries that you have that. 99%. That's nothing stop the Gambia from attaining a higher percentage of literacy rather than dropping in the index. How important education would be. In Lebanon, they have over 42 universities. You see, when we talk about the 42 universities, it's not to cater for the citizens of Lebanon alone, but the universities are part of what sells the country. It's part of the economy, where people from the Middle East go to study, because they created a conducive environment for people to want to live and study in Lebanon, rather than to live and study in the countries of origin. People want to come and do business in Lebanon because they created a conducive environment. Gambia can be that country. Gambia can be a country that can develop the education sector. Gambia can be the country that can create that conducive environment, develop education to the extent that people can come in. University can be part of what we sell. Education will be part of the product that we sell. There are formulas that we can use to do these things. But as I said, you have to have the right people and have a plan for that. Lebanon have over 100 banks, different banks. You see, that what tells you that financial services is what they sell. You see, they didn't go to try to build manufacturing industry. They look at their strength, education, and what service industry. The same way Gambia can think of our sides. If we can develop education and skills, then we can sell our country as a service-oriented economy. We can sell our country as a high-skill-oriented economy, where companies will come and invest because of we have the manpower. And we have the conducive environment, we have the location, and English is our official language. But we have French as our second language that a higher population of high percentage of the population speaks. You see, then the other thing about Lebanon is, this is very interesting. The capital is called Beirut, yeah. But Lebanon have been destroyed and built 7 times. Within the space of 50 years, Lebanon have within the space of our independence. You see, Gambia doesn't have an excuse to say that we come out from a 22 years of dictatorship. In most cases, when you come out from these conditions, it's something to be, it's like an energizing and incentive to, in fact, go back to the drawing board and just start as a blank canvas. And develop your country in orientedly in the spirit and the strength that you have. If Lebanon can rebuild their country 7 times within the space, they didn't build it on natural resources. What they built it on was the human resources, and more so, they citizens who are outside the country, because of those citizens became the resources. During the financial crisis, Lebanon was the only country there where banks have never been run out of cash. They were always liquid because they have policies that encourage their citizens, to repatriate their profit. And because of the citizens have that sense of belonging, because that country leaders make sure that whatever the case, and look, this is a country that not only go through wars. This is a country which is completely divided between Christians and Muslims, separatist movements, but between Muslim separatist sectarian movement, between the Sunni and the Shia. This is a country surrounded by conflict zones. This is a country that has influx of refugees from Lebanon, from Palestine, to the extent that they dominated the southern part of the country. But it didn't stop the country from progressing. It didn't stop the economy from growing. Yes, they have challenges for stability because of the geopolitics they live in, but it didn't stop them from developing. Then Gambia, we don't have an excuse on the 22 years of dictatorship. It should be a strength, in fact, and where we should take from. If you look at the stats on Lebanon, just tells you that it's possible with the Gambia, and this is the most frustrating thing about our condition. And we have the opportunity, to develop our country, but we don't have the leadership that is oriented in making that country develop.
How do we educate people about this leadership?
We have to engage. You see, our problem is we have a failed political system. Because of the political system is based on patronage. Every political party, except the PDOIS in the Gambia, have the system of relying on middlemen to mobilize for them. That's why that from the First Republic to the dictatorship to what we see now, we have seen the executive trying to go through so-called influential middlemen. These are the Islamic clerics or imams. These are local leaders, as we call them, Sefol and Alkalol. These are regional tribal elders from Kabilos to you call it in different languages. In order to consolidate power, in order to regroup. And we have seen the same thing with the UDP. We have seen the same thing with GDC. We have the same thing with every other party. What they use is not to use issues by engaging the citizens to be educated through issues, the burning issues of that day, things that really affects them. Then and in order to educate them through those issues, and from there, leadership would come out, and those leaders will be the true leaders that can change the destiny of that country. The example here is when we approach things through issues, when you it will turn out to be a movement, and in the course of a movement, then leaders will emerge from that movement. And those leaders would be true leaders. But when you take people because of the virtue of their birthright or other reasons and annul them or put them in front to mobilize the people, when they go to mobilize people, they don't engage the people on issues. They don't educate the people on issues. They don't empower the people. What they do, they use their influences and use the ignorance of the people in order to mobilize them, and those people would never know better. They will always, believe in the system in place, and they will be followers, but they will never decide their own destiny. But once you educate the minds, when you educate the citizens, they will be in position in order to change the destiny of that country. Then they would, they would approach, issues and critically and think about it and debate it. And engage it in that sense and see change. But if not, we engage how we will relate to issues according to sentiments. Our tribe will relate to our tribe. We will relate to our region. We will relate to our cabelos. We will relate to people that we know, but not what the person stood for. Not the leadership that the person has shown, but the person that we know that because he's from a set family, or he's from my region, or he's from a set religion, or he's from a set tribe. I mean, the only way we can do this change and have this economic emancipation is through education, and in all forms would start from education as well.
So Ben, do you think there is favoritism in the Gambia? Like favoritism, who you know to put in that position? So you say who you call like a favoritism, like who is the favorite, or who is close to me, who is a family member, or who is infatuated with me? You think that's in the Gambia?
Yes, you see, that's a human nature. That's a human nature. The only time that people would use it progressively, the only time that would not highly affect the progressiveness of society is when people are educated. When you can still have that feeling, but again, use your senses of judgment and know that my mission here, or my objective here, is to see a successful project. Then what makes this project successful is the most important thing. Yes, I might have these feelings, I might have these sentiments towards people, I might not even like the person, but this is the person that can deliver the goals for me. I will have to work with this person, or have to get this person on board. I might like this person so much, but it's not the person who can deliver the goals. I mean, I'll give you an example as the English Premiership. You see, when the people that we perceive to be racist, they can chant for a black player. They will take their money and invest and buy a jersey that is numbered for a black player. But at the next minute, they will turn around and chant monkey chants against another black player or other things. Even with their ignorance of things, one thing they have in themselves is the importance of seeing success within what they do. And they would support the team and support whoever is the team that brought out success, regardless of that person's, they like the person or not. But they would still support that, that person, because that person is in a team, and that person have to make the team, successful. And that will come again into education. Once we people are educated and empowered in that way, then we can have all these things in us, because we can't help it, who we love or who we despise at times. But education and information would help us to make sure that that does not deter the good in us, or to see that good in society happen. But we will be empowered due to education and information to have these things work out.
Right. Thanks for that. Coming back to the investors, Suleiman, you think we need to put in place for these people to come into the Gambia?
Yes, that's very important. In the aspect of when we promote investment, as I said, part of the planning would be to look at where we think we lack capacity, where we think we need people to come in. Not just to liberalize your economy and people can come in and plunder whatever they want, or dominate anything. I give another example as India. You see, in India, the small businesses, the family businesses, the small businesses are very important in Indian society, because of it's through this businesses that families, because almost all Indian families are big families. This is the only way they can get themselves out of poverty. But this is, again, one way that their society can hold on to each other, because of the shop is part of society itself. And they have the culture of the shops, even without a policy being written, the shops are dedicated for certain produce to be sold. They have the grocery kind of sector that we in the West here, that we will have to go through legislation, policies, guidelines to make sure it works. In India, it works naturally from the people's spirit, and they have this thing. And you can see the Walmart, Tesco, and other multinationals cannot penetrate the Indian market to open up their superstores and break break down society, because if they resisted, the people were empowered. The Indian government wanted it because of to grow the economy faster, but the Indian people were empowered. They were educated to know the importance of their shops, their little businesses. And they have seen those businesses transform and become multinational business. Tata, example, Tata. Tata didn't start as a multinational. Tata didn't come from anywhere else. It started from ingenious, Indian business. If we go to Japan, most of the big companies today, we talk about of Japanese companies, they're from families. They created a conducive environment, empowered them to be Kodak and all this Nissan and all these companies you hear from Japan, all started from family businesses and developed to what is. They all started from small to medium to big businesses because of the government protected them. The government, gave them the incentives, created a conducive environment, for them to prosper. This thing. If you bring this town to, in the case of Gambia, we give a typical example. We have the tourism, we have our tourism sector as the sector that we rightly say that is one of the growing aspect of our economy, or been the growing part of our economy. How comes the Gambian government, past and present, never had any protection for Gambians businesses? How can a British citizen or EU citizen can walk into the Gambia and open a big bar and just invest $2,000 pounds or dollars in order to, and calling himself an investor, and that person would be competing with a Gambian? You see, these are the area sector, a kind of protection I'm talking about. These are things that we should empower. The government should have a program that we empower to bring out Gambians to run the small business, to have a share of the industry. Because once we have share of our industry, then we'll properly take care of the industry, and rather than open up the industry for people to come in and with the advantage they have over our people and take over everything from them. Things like safari. How can a Westerner just come to the Gambia, have old Land Rovers, and say that he opened a company and a safari, this thing? If we continue in this trend, how can Gambia ever develop a business? How can Gambian ever develop a business? These are issues. Ecotourism is something that we could have, promoted. You see, you can even open up, but you have to, put a requirement for foreigners to this thing, because these are areas that Gambians can get in and invest. These are not areas that we have weakness. These are not, where we have weaknesses are when we come to real resource or skill to put in. These are skills that Gambians have to run big bars, to run, safari listings, and to other small business, chains, value chains within the tourist industry. But we can take that into almost or most of the other industries in the country that Gambians should be protected, even into our local markets. These are ways that we should find to try to protect. You go to Albert Market today, you will hardly find a Gambian trader. You go to Bakau Market today, you hardly find a Bakau trader. You go to Sarakuna Market today, you hardly find Gambian traders. You see, these are things that there's an element. I would emphasize the word element of control, control or protection, and this can be done in a way that liberalized economy do allow, as you have them in every other liberalized economy. There's nothing like total liberation of an economy. There's always caveats. There are always ways that they go around to empower their indigenous businesses, their citizens, in order to have a stake in that investment.
Clement, you think foreign investment is still a small business in Gambia?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
You think foreign investment is killing our small businesses in the Gambia?
Yes, and it's sad that the foreign investment we have in are not what we desire, or a country should desire. These are no investments that add value to our economy. These are investments that takes away from our economy, because these are investments that stop Gambians from developing themselves. I'll give you a typical case of recently, Ahmad Manjang was advocating about a soap factory somewhere in the Congo. And apparently the soap factory is not practicing good health and safety policy, or the staff have been exposed to toxins and so on. But remember, we used to have the Sankun Sila soap and plastic factory, and it tried for a long time. Why can't we think of, if a Gambian had it in the First Republic and run it for over 20 years, probably it failed because of the person passed away and the family could not control it. We could investigate to find out what made the business fail. Could it be sustainable? Why would we accept Indians to come in to say that they invested in something that Gambians could have invested in? Especially they come in and not even respect the environment. They don't respect the environment. One, they don't respect our tax laws. One, they don't respect our citizens, their workers. They don't add value. They repatriate their profits, and they destroy our environment. What's the value of the business? Imagine if a Gambian company was empowered, Sankun Sila type company was empowered. How much of the employment will create, the respect to our environment, the tax we will collect, and the profit that we would be reinvested into the country. Because once a Gambian does well in a business, that Gambian would spend that money in other part of the economy. That Gambian would build more houses. That Gambian would take care of more families. That Gambian would do a lot of other things. That Gambian would save his money inside the Gambia, but not repatriate it to another destination. You see, that's why I said that I cannot think of one investment in the Gambia of foreign nature, especially within these 2 years, which I would applaud to say that it's sustainable, or it's an investment, foreign investment that we desire. We can go into different areas. Look at the fisheries. What did Gambia benefit from the fish farm? Fish meal farms. What did Gambia benefit from the licenses of for marine products? If you look at all these things, you see the laziness in our approach. We just count pennies as foreign investment. Our foreign investment should have a cap. So say that this is the amount and this is the area. Every area would have required. And actually, especially areas that people desire. Look, people are running around to look for marine resources. Then we have a position of strength in marine resources. We can have our term and condition be respected, and we'll have responsible investors to invest in that industry. We have seen in the days of the First Republic, where we have the NPE, and the NPE was processing, was fishing, and most of the people involved in the fishing were Gambians, and they would bring the fish onto shore, and they would process the fish into factories run by a Gambian, staffed by Gambians. You see, look at the value this thing. But look at the fisheries sector now. What is Gambian in the fisheries sector now? These are the investments we're talking about. Look at any in the mining sector. We don't even know. You see, this is the corruption I'm talking about. We don't even know what licenses they have. We cannot see the value. We cannot see the benefits of these areas. And we know that. We have seen the proof that they don't respect the environment. Then these companies are not valued. These companies are not companies that we desire to have as foreign investors.
Suleiman, coming to these criteria, do you think we need to have requirements, criteria, and limitations of control for investors? Because this is really important. People come, invest, we call themselves investors. But if there is no criteria or limitations in place, we can go anywhere, do you think?
Definitely. I think one of the other things we normally think of or do when we create a strategy, develop a strategy for to promote investment in a country, would be to zonalize. I mean, we need to zonalize the industries. We need to categorize the industries. And within those industries too, we need to compartmentalize the industry and show the areas that are open for direct foreign investment. Show areas that are open for joint venture investments. You see, there are other ways that you can get foreign investment by saying that the criteria here is that the percentage of the shares would be owned by Gambians, or partnership of the company would be of Gambian nature. You see, these are another thing. And then there are areas at the lower end, there's where protection will come in. These are areas that we would be put in a way that, I mean, the requirements can only be achieved by Gambians or people who have deep Gambian heritage in order to invest in these areas. These are necessities. But as I said, if we don't have the right people in place, again, you can have all these laws, you can have all the strategies and everything else, but would not be followed. If the head of the executive, the president, would be undermining what we already have, what do you expect from downstream? Obviously, it will be a ripple effect where people would just be in position to empower themselves, but not to do what is required of them in order to see our industries grow or our economic grow to foreign investment.
Coming to still with the foreign investors, do you think foreign investors coming to invest in our country with their so-called they will come with their drivers, you think this is affecting our investment thing? Because if you're coming with the investors coming, they're saying these are our experts, drivers. What do you think of that?
Yeah, this is very typical of Asian investment. This is very typical of Asian investment. You see, I'm not being discriminatory here. It's not because I live in the West or anything. I'll tell you, I know all countries or any company that goes into business, they go into business for their interest. They want to make profit. But it depends on the partners. It depends on the country. It depends who they work with, determines how they behave. But one good thing about companies from the EU, there are laws, legislation in their parent countries that try to regulate them. Anti-bribery laws, environmental protection, human rights, and all these issues are they still liable to it because they are registered or their parent company is in the UK or wherever. I'll give you another example of this. In southern Nigeria, or eastern Nigeria, where the Ogoni people and had Chief Sarawewa was killed, an activist, environmental activist, a community leader was killed by the government, and the people were massacred, and the environment was destroyed and everything else, but in complicit with a British company, British Petroleum. Now the Ogoni people are taking the cases. I mean, they could not even have justice in their own country, but now they're having justice in England here, in the courts in London. But if it was an Indian company, or a Chinese company, or a Turkish company, I'll tell you, nothing will come out of it. You will not have justice in your country and you not have justice in any other jurisdiction. But if it is a British or Western company, this is the protections that we have with them. Then when we go into business with any company, it is for our interests, to safeguard our interests, to make sure that investment is beneficial, it's a win situation for us, or it's a win, mutual interest, that is a win-win situation for, to ourselves. And then that's the only way. That's why when we look at the sustainability, and that's where we look at there's people who are very obsessed about environmental impact assessment, but people always forget about the social impact assessment. How does that investment affect society? These are issues that we rarely talk about. These are the issues that we rarely look at. How does this investment affect society? And if you look at the environmental impact assessment of any business, you could relate it to, the society, the social impact assessment. But there's a degree of assessment that needed to look at how does it affect the society. You see, that's where it comes in employment, the source of employment, the source of skill transfer. Is there anything like skill transfer from this business? The sustainability of the business on this thing. Are they going to price people out of the communities, commodities that were affordable to them? Now, if you start sand mining in my community, but before I could afford to go and take sand, what I need, it was sustainable. They go out with their donkey carts and get the sand they need to rebuild their houses. Yeah? But now, because of a company have come in to so-called invest in sand mining, now have made the sand mining not affordable to the community. That's an example. Now, if you invest in sand mining, that sand mining, the environmental impact assessment would, in fact, might dictate that the soil quality of that area would be affected. Because once you start digging, it would encourage wind erosion, and it would encourage water erosion. The water and wind and everything else would affect the livelihood of those communities in farming. Now, what is the compensation to the community? Government should not only think of the licenses they get or the royalties they get from that mining, but what about the community? If that investment continued, that community would never be. What about the pollution on all the things that the community goes with? Does this investment guarantee their health? Does this investment have anything to give them health care? Does this investment develop anything in that society with the youth, the women, especially the most vulnerable? What benefit does this investment have for that community? Because it's important that where the business is located, those people around that business to have a leverage, should have a leverage over that business. Now, the other part would be affordable housing, because of the more these people, especially if they don't do it responsibly, the inflation would be created. People might move into the area. People have a little bit of money, but the money, because of society, that community was not empowered to have a value chain added to it. They're not empowered to open shops. They're not empowered to learn how to run businesses, so that when the investment grow, they will grow with that investment. These are things that when we do our environment impact assessment, we should do a serious societal environment, societal impact assessment. We have a system right now in the Gambia where something we call the Village Development Community, the VDC, is the most corrupt setup you will ever find. This was a strategy developed by the dictator. You see, wherever you find a village development community, I'm not saying exclusive every village development community, but most of it that's been what we had in the Gambia it was linked to the dictator himself. It was linked to the executive itself. And we still have that culture where people among that, that village development committee are linked to the people that created it, are linked to the alcalo, are linked to the CFO. It's an extension of these people. They are not really empowered. They are not really from representative of the society. They are representative of the executive. Just as the executive, the CFO, the commissioner, or the divisional governor, and the alcalo represent the executive. This is the way they represent the executive. They, rather than these people representing the people, they don't represent the people. Gambia have to wise up to this. That our structures in society have to be looked at again. That makes sure the leadership we have in society are empowered, are extension of that society and that community, are people who represent the interests of the community in order for them to look after the interests of the people. If you don't have the right structures, you don't have the right people in those structures, the capacity is not right, then you not have the delivery which is right. Then the multinational companies will come in and get away with whatever they want to.
So, Suleiman, you say the government is sacrificing the nation for cash for the investors, for investors. Would you say that?
Yes, definitely. And what happened is, in fact, I will give credit to the First Republic. To a level, they have encouraged responsible investments, and the environment was more conducive for foreign direct investment. We have seen investments like the one in Pirang, the Scan Gambia. We've seen the impact of that investment in the area of Pirang and communities. We know of citizens that have benefited and that have been upskilled. And we have seen investment in tourism. But again, we have seen during the First Republic, we have witnessed Gambian citizens from someone called Sambu, who used to run a big bar called Sambu's Bar, end up running a hotel. We have seen someone called Ibrahim Boyan, who used to run a restaurant in Bakau, end up running a hotel. And all this was due to the conduciveness and not protection, but a sort of an empowerment that's been given to these people. And I can give you similar cases that those Gambians that progressed from those the environment that was created. But what we have now is a continuity of what we had in the dictatorship. No, I mean you can't see anywhere that the government has reviewed. The government have not come out with review to say that they have reviewed these investments or they have reviewed the Gambia Promotion Investment Promotion Authority, the GIPSA, and this is the added value we have done, or this is the omission that we have done. They have not come out with strategy or initiative, and that would empower Gambians to participate. I will give you another example. During the First Republic, we have something called IBAS. IBAS is IBAS as the Indigenous Business Advisory Committee or Association. Indigenous as the native. You see, what IBAS used to do was advisory, but they were trying to give capacity, empowerment, teach people, advise them, show them where to find funding, capital investments and so on. These were to try to promote Gambians to become business people. Yes, it failed, but these are initiatives that we thought that the government come and revitalize, the government come and revisit and see that how can we develop Gambian youths? How can we develop Gambian women? How can we empower Gambian women horticultural gardeners? Now we have seen Indian companies coming taking our horticultural businesses. The narcos and the gardens our mothers, our sisters have, how can we not empower them to be sustainable to the extent that they will add value into their produce? You know, now what people do, go late in the evening to Serakunda. I'll tell you, our sisters and mothers from Combo would have to, sell their produce because there's no point taking them back. because there's no refrigeration. There's nothing to keep the produce. And the other thing is there's no other way to add value onto those produce. They have to harvest it, sell it on the day. If they cannot sell it after certain time of the day, they have to just give it away. And they have been doing this for all their lives. How can the government not come with a strategy? These are already very productive, hardworking people. How can we not come with strategy and make sure that it's sustainable? We have solar energy, these things to do, help them with the watering, help them with the energy need. To have refrigeration, to have drying facilities, to dry some of the products, and packaging. These are simple things to achieve. Where vegetables can be freezed and sold as frozen products and still will be valuable. Okra can be frozen and sold. We buy okra here for how much?
Yeah.
How can we help them to know how to package, to brand it, branding? How to dry some of these vegetables or fruits, how to squeeze it to make it puree or other things. These are things that are technology which is cheap and affordable. The knowledge is affordable and is everywhere. But do we have an approach? No. Do we have an initiative? No. What is the government doing? What is the Minister of Trade doing? Which other agencies are responsible for these things? No. You can go around and look at anything we produce in the country. We don't have a strategy to open a value-added chain on it and Gambians to benefit. I'll give you another example. A few months ago, the government, I think it was the former Minister of External Affairs, Honorable Usain Dabo, that opened a Chinese, so-called a Chinese factory for tomato puree or puree or paste. You know the problem with that? That puree or that paste would be coming from China. Rather than empowering Gambians to cultivate the required amount of tomatoes, and that technology is not sophisticated technology. It's something that can be acquired and make sure we do it ourselves. If that is absent, if you have to bring a Chinese man to bring the factory, make sure you get Gambians to be the producers of the products. What that does is they give us ownership of part of the business. But again, it will guarantee the quality, and we will know the source of the produce that we eat and we export. We can have sufficient and to help us do our balance trade deficit, where Gambians would produce enough tomatoes to consume in the country. We don't have to import to save us foreign exchange. But again, we are producing enough and adding value in the Gambia to export in the sub-region or other countries. And it can be good enough to be exported in the EU market. But in this case now, we don't even know the source of the tomatoes. The tomatoes might be genetically modified, the tomatoes might be infected, the tomatoes, the processing, everything, they are put in containers and shipped into the Gambia. You see the carbon footprint of those products, the carbon footprint. And these companies are giving all tax exemptions, thinking that they are creating value. They're not creating any value. They're not creating enough employment. What they're doing to maximize their profit, and that profit again is taken out of the country. But imagine if Gambian people were empowered to be the producers of the tomatoes, then Gambian citizens, especially our women farmers, would have been making more profit. And where would the profit go? To the education, to the nutrition, to the healthcare, and to the infrastructure of the family. You see, these are the policies we should think about, but not only to have an open policy where a Chinese man can come with an investment of $100,000, to say that they have a factory, but really they don't have a factory. You don't call that a factory. These are light industries that should be incorporated with the horticultural industry, and other industries can follow suit.
Suleiman, do you think Do we even need? You think we need foreign investment? Do you think?
Definitely, we need foreign investment in certain areas. The reason we need foreign investment is the capital. We need the capital flow. Because when you have a foreign investor, there's what we call the capital flow. The capital flow will come into the banking system. You know, that is part of something helping the service industry. It's straight away as the transfer goes through the financial industry, already jobs are created, profit is created, tax is being collected through that transaction. But again, some of these businesses are capital intensive. You need the money, and government don't have the money to invest in some of this, not all of them, some of them. And government, in most cases, are not good in investment, but doesn't mean that government agencies would not be good in investment. We have seen cases in where the company like the Social Security could have invested in a lot of industries, and they have the capital to invest in those industries than to invest the money into some of these places that they put. It will give the country a better return, in dividend. But once we need the capital flow, and some of the companies, businesses are, are capital intensive. But again, we need the skills. Some of these investments are knowledge based. We need the skills, and as the country is right now, I'll put a caveat here. I'm not saying that Gambians don't have the skills. We have the skills, but they are not accounted for. The skills are mostly outside of the Gambia. We have some skilled people in the Gambia, not enough to do some of these industries. You see, this would have been the idea where Lebanon have harnessed their diaspora. Then if we had harnessed our diaspora capitals, then this would have been one of the advantages, where investments of this nature can still come in, but again would be partnered by Gambia. But now all this investment need money, need knowledge, to be in place, and the government is not in position to finance some of these investments. The government didn't have this strategy, didn't develop the strategy for the human resource that is required in order to run these businesses. In this case, there are aspects of the economy that we would require foreign investment. But again, as I said, foreign investment can be very good when you plan and strategize to make sure that it benefits the country, and the impact of the investment is for sustainable growth, and not what will just create capital flight or repatriation of profits, and not even paying enough taxes, or creating employment, or developing, upskilling the people, developing skills, and not respecting the environment. These are the effects we have.
Suleiman, how would you call mismanagement or misplaced priorities when it comes to Gambia and the investment? We got people going out there to look for investors to come to the Gambia. And when the investors come to the Gambia, they come with their so-called experts or experts misplaced priorities or people are out there just for their own.
I think two things. It's incompetence and corruption. It's incompetence and corruption. Because what we inherited, look at the, I'm not being insulting here. I'm not saying everybody in government is incompetent. But vast majority, or the system of government is incompetent. Because of we have not transformed that government. We have not literally even changed the people in that government. We maintain the same government that we all criticize in opposition to be incompetent, to be corrupt. Now, how can we turn around overnight and want to give credit to the government, say that they are competent and they are incorrupt? Until we create, or we bring in people and create a system and transform that government to people of integrity, people of knowledge, people of the right mindset. The mindset is very important, because the vast majority of Gambian technocrats today in government, for that matter, or even outside government, our biggest problem is the human capitals in government, social capitals in the country as a whole. These are the two most important things we need in development, because if we talk about development, we are talking about producing food enough to eat, and obviously sell the surplus, manufacturing goods, for our use, and to sell to other people, and to create services. In order to create jobs and obviously wealth. These are the three things we have. But these three things have to go with four capitals. And one of the capitals, and the most important capital, is the human resource capital. And the other most important is the human capital itself, the people. How people are. Are people knowledgeable? Are people trustworthy? Are people cooperative? Are people peaceful? Are people coexisting? Are people thinking right? Do the people have the right mindset of development? Are people not, really energized or motivated to work? Then you think of the build capital, the infrastructure we have in place, and the other part, the final part, would be the natural resources. These are the four things we have. But the most two important things today is what Gambia really need today, which is the human capital and the social capital. And it's not that we lack them. It's just that we have a failure of leadership that cannot identify or create it. Because of this is where the diaspora will come in again. I'm not saying that the diaspora is better than the people on the ground, but we have to be honest here. Gambia, the diaspora is less polluted. The diaspora are more energized. The diaspora are more fortunate to live in democracies or advanced economy, where people have gained a better education, where people have gained better experience, where people are more professional, and the cultures are more advanced in the sense of development. Now, how can you alienate those people and expect, to progress? The two most important capitals you need are within the diaspora, but you haven't have a strategy to get this diaspora to involve. Then we will come to the point of the corruption, the incompetence. And now, because of the people who are in position, most of them are corrupt, most of them are incompetent, they are scared of people with integrity. They are scared of people with knowledge. And what do? Now they try to politicize, and they try to play nepotism in other people that they think that they can use, people that can influence, people that they can control. These are the people they have around them. This is why, this is my theory, one of the reasons why the diaspora is not incorporated in the Gambian National Development Plan. We don't have it at all. If it's even in theory, it's not in practice as we have seen it. And if we fail to have these policies that are, or the strategy that incorporate the Gambian diaspora into our national development, we will fail. Just as I said, the strength of the Lebanese economy is its people, and its people mostly the diaspora and education. And these are the things. We fail in the sense that we don't have a plan. We cannot have a plan. We don't have the right people in place to bring about a plan. They don't have the priorities right. They are self-centered. They are looking after themselves, but they are not looking at the interests of the people.
Right. So, coming to the diaspora people, people in the diaspora, people keep saying these diaspora people, keep talking about things, the internet on the Facebook and all that, but they are not willing to come to the Gambia to work with them. And some are saying, because we seem to be a threat for them. This is something that is true. Diaspora people are just talking on the platform, social media, and they're not willing to come back. All this knowledge they have, they're not willing to come back and share it with the nation or what?
You see, the country is in transition, and every Gambian is in transition. The country, the leadership of the country should have a program of transition. And this program of transition should incorporate a diaspora strategy that would be part of the transitional program. That would help Gambians to be in transition in order. You see, we living in a global economy now. We live in where technology is so advanced that most of the things that we can do could be done while we're here, while we are in transition, not permanently living here, but in the process of moving to Gambia. You cannot just uproot and move to the Gambia. What are you going to move to? Jobs are not created yet for you to move into. There's nothing there's no initiative been out there to empower you to move back to the Gambia. I mean, how do you find jobs in the Gambia? There's nothing like, jobs been advertised for their supply in the Gambia. The ideas, some of the ideas during the when they came together was as a knowledge bank, where Gambians would send their CVs. You see, and so that they can go through the CVs and put them into a category like a resource center. Then obviously, then jobs and requirements can be, updated according to these people, and people be encouraged to apply. But creating jobs or creating an enabling environment for people to want to go is one thing. But again, there are other incentives. Other countries have done it. Senegal and other countries have put in incentives for diaspora to return. There's something like, in countries that you have, in Ethiopia and others, you have something called diaspora levy. In a sense, they put it in a way that if you, as a diaspora, have the intention to return or invest in the country, there's a pot that you can access, and where certain tax exemptions will be given to you. And if, in fact, some of these things are controlled in a sense that if you fail, then the deposits or whatever they're taken can be accessed. The system is so much developed to an extent that incentivizes, but again, it protects itself from abuse. But there's nothing that the Gambian can want to return, regardless of what knowledge you have, what experience you have, what professions you have to do it your own. And hence you have to do it your own. It will take a longer time for you to do it because you have not been given the vehicle to ride on to easily do achieve this transformation. But if the government have put in an enabling environment to help the Gambian diasporans to able to transform or translate these things and get to the ground and invest or take up jobs on something, it would have happened quicker. But it's not happening quicker because we now have to do everything our own. We have to think about our family. We have to think about anything. Look, the other enabling environment, if hospitals have not been equipped, now I have to think of, I am over 50 years old. I have to think of my health. Some people are older than me. Other people are women. They are more vulnerable to illnesses. I have a family. My kids might be young. And all these things, people would need access to healthcare. I might be healthy for today, but I might not be in 2 years. And I have not seen anything encouraging that the healthcare system is going to improve. The cost of healthcare is so much not affordable on a Gambian. How would I go and take a job in the Gambia, expect them to live under those conditions? The schooling, the education, private education is very expensive in the Gambia, and the public education is non-starter. If I have two kids or 3 kids to take to private education, can I go and take up a job in the Gambia to take my kids to private education? Yes, we all want to sacrifice for country, and we all been sacrificing for country. And even being in the diaspora here, we are still sacrificing for country. And what we're doing now even is sacrifice for country. It's part of what develop a country. What's where we are now. Then the government should do have an initiative, just as other countries that had the initiative and benefited from their diaspora capitals.
Would you call yourself as a threat? Or because some of these people with the big positions, like managers or directors, they might see some of your people as threat. And if you are a threat for you to get that position, it will be a bit hard. What do you think?
Yes, you see, this is the problem. This is the problem of putting the wrong people in the right in the place. Now, a credible diasporan can only be seen as a threat to someone who is not credible, someone who lacks knowledge and someone who lacks integrity. The Gambians that have knowledge and integrity, the Gambians that have loved that country and that want to see that country progress, they are yearning to see Gambians, uproot themselves and come to the Gambia or participate into the national development. They see the Gambian diaspora, the progressive diaspora, as a source of strength. They see them as a resource that Gambia cannot do without. But as you said, rightly so, the people that might see a diaspora as a threat would be someone who is not progressive, the person who lacks integrity, the person who lacks capacity, who lacks knowledge, the person who is in the wrong mindset. But the Gambians with knowledge, the Gambians with integrity, the Gambians with the right mindset, those people are yearning to have their compatriots, collaborate with them, or engage them, or one way or the other, and return home, to help, lift that country out of, the ruins it is.
Right, Ben. Coming to the other bit, which is like different investors, different investors. European Union is something that very strong. I don't know if you heard about this. The fish in our sea like that, and then the petroleum tin oil tin happening in Gambia. Is this something that it could say is tangible or really important for us?
Yeah, as I said, if you don't take care of yourself, people take advantage of you. We cannot blame other people for furthering their interests. And I will put it this again. If a company comes out from Turkey, most likely that company, it's not a private company. That company has a control of government in it. That company is part of a sovereign fund of a government. This is how they all develop a strategy now. Every developed country or developing country have developed a national, a strategy to make sure they develop their country. And part of the strategy is to empower private entities as private entities, but they have a control of government. They are empowered. The government, you will use their diplomacy and every article and instrument they have to facilitate them to be to have access to markets. It's more true of China, more true of India, Asian countries, and some of these Arab countries. If a company comes out of the European Union, it might be, most likely it's a private company. But again, these countries have realized and they know the importance of empowering their private sector. They have a strategy to help their private sector to win contracts, to get into markets, to invest into areas that can benefit these companies, because they know that that company, making profit or growing is the parent company growing, paying taxes, creating more employment in their host country. You see, they have their interests, and they would do whatever they can to make sure they realize these goals. It's up to us Gambians what we do. And a typical example is fisheries. You see in the European Union, you heard about the quota system. You heard about the quota system in the European Union. And the quota system is one of the most contested. It's one of the most contested protocols in the European Union, especially between the French, the English, the Spanish, and the Portuguese, all the coastal countries. Now, if these people have quota systems in order to have sustainable fisheries, in order to sustain their stocks, in order to control their main species, like the English might be protecting the haddock because of the thing, and the French might be protecting the mackerel. I mean, the Spanish might be protecting the sardines, stuff like that. Now, in order to meet the demand, the shortfall and others, now they look at far and to supplement this the quota system. And that's one article, but the other things is to create an industry and empower the industry to continue the job creation and the economic growth. But what is Gambia doing? I'll come to an example again. For the First Republic, people might think that I'm giving too much credit for the First Republic. Yes, they have done a lot of things wrong, but they had initiated projects that were sustainable, that were progressive. Some of them failed due to the same issue of corruption, the same issue of politicizing projects. They have failed. The others didn't fail during the First Republic. It failed during the dictatorship because of the same issue that made projects to fail. Corruption, incompetence, putting the wrong people in there because of them politicized the projects or the industries. You see, the fisheries. There was this program supported by the Japanese government. You see, the Japanese government gave a grant to the Gambian government. But the Gambian government decided that this grant to be spent, they want the Japanese to help them with the expertise. They want the Japanese to help them and grow an industry. And this is the fishing industry. And I'll put this, there's nothing like aid. We rather have trade than aid. There's nothing like aid. There's nothing like free breakfast or lunch. Aid is an investment. When people give you aid, they're giving you aid in order, one, to empower their companies. I'll get to that later. Or they're giving you that aid in order to facilitate transaction between you and them. In this case, the Japanese gave this aid to Gambia because of Gambia would support them in their whaling pursuit, because the Japanese were struggling to win support to continue the whaling fishing for whales, and they call in scientific research, and they want countries like the Gambia to support them, and they have to give something to Gambia. And in the case of Gambia, do you know why is the advantage we have? Again, our small country. A country like Japan will look at it. If I give $50,000, or if I give $50 million, I can achieve so much dividend than if I give $50 million to Nigeria. It's like a drop in the ocean. But in the Gambia, $50 million, but remember, Gambia is a sovereign state. Now the voting power we have in that this thing is the same power Nigeria have. And all what Japan needed was for that voting power. If Japan have to go to Nigeria, they will have to give millions of dollars in order to get the vote. But in Gambia, they can just give $50 million. But Gambia said, we don't want $50 million. What we want is your expertise to help us. Now, the line ministries, the Minister of External Affairs, the Minister of Water Resources and Fisheries, they come up with a strategy and develop a strategic development plan. And they selected fishing towns. Bakau was part of it. I'll take Bakau as an example. Bakau, Burfoot, and others. I'll take Bakau as an example. And this was in the early 90s. And some of this project finishes just before the 1994 coup. What did they do in Bakau? They selected citizens of Bakau, put capacity in them, send them to Japan to learn the skills to manage the facility, how to manage the cold store, how to manage the nets, how to manage the boats, They did this capacity. They put capacity in the Ministry of Fisheries, someone to project manage. They trained them to project manage the thing. They gave Gambia the ownership of the project. And these people, when they came back, they have to train other Gambians to mend the nets, to fix the boats. The boats were fiber boats. To fix the cold store, to fix the vehicles, refrigerator vehicles, to know how to keep the accounts and the other these things. Now, the other bit they did was to make the area accessible and conducive for fishing. They built a road down to the beach. They built a cold store. They built a landing site. They built a jetty to make it easier, regardless of the sea currents. I mean, so that boats can easily be, because at times it used to take the fishermen probably an hour to move the boat from the dry dock into water. But now they can just dock it on the jetty, and straight away they just jump in and go. They save an hour of going to fishing, and they save another hour after fishing. You see, those 2 hours are very important in productivity. But again, another technology they help us with was to make sure that we process the fish. Not only put it in a cold store, but to process the fish by drying it and smoking it. And they gave us the technology, make it clean, and so that all the toxin, nylon bags and everything the women used to do this process, after they stopped it. And some of these products were cancer agents. You see, they improved that area as well. The women that processed the catch, were empowered to do it in a more effective, efficient way, hygienic way, and to bolster their profits. And the people were trained to be fishermen and keep sustainable. That was a project. And this was something that could have been developed into other areas. But again, another part of the project was to help the rural fishing. The rural fishing project, these things, places like Bintang, Fonyi Bintang, they started to help them to get into, put capacity and structures there to help them, do the river fishing. You see, these are things that government do in order to develop an industry. But for this government, since they came in, what they do is to sell license. And once they sell the license, regardless of the cost, when every company, or every fishing company, every country is trying to look at the resources, you have an advantage. It's not a product that you are struggling to sell. This is, people are dying to get it. Why should you give it for free? Why would you give it for petty? You have to give it for what it's worth. Why not even have your own industry? Why not own your own industry? If you cannot do it, why not partner to be part of the industry? But the same thing we did with Chinese, that's what we did with the European Union. Even though the European Union, our countries progressive and developed, we have not put anything before them. And they will just take advantage of it.
Coming to Gambia, there's a country in Africa. Do you think there is any country in Africa that we could emulate?
Yes, there are countries that you would emulate to level.
Yeah, when it comes to foreign investment, do you think now at this point in time, any country in Africa that you say they are doing well, or they started doing well, maybe Ghana, somewhere you could say they follow their footsteps?
I will give an example, and Senegal would not be a good example, because Senegal too are lacking in certain areas. Because you know what we're talking about, fisheries. Senegal is encountering the same problem with fisheries. But in agriculture, Senegal is doing it right. Do you know that there are incentives given to diaspora and artisans in the diaspora to invest in agriculture, rice production? And now Senegal, I'll give it first with Senegal. They went with a blueprint. They have an initiative to produce self-sufficient rice for self-sufficiency. And after 3 years, they are almost reaching the target of rice self-sufficiency. You see, because they realize how much of rice they consume, how much of rice is important. If we can produce that enough of rice to consume only, not even export, we will reduce and fix our balance of payment deficits. We will reduce the foreign exchange we use, and balance of trade deficits would be addressed. But again, Senegal, again, in this form, what have they done? They're going to mechanize farming. In that mechanized farming, most of the products or the implements are assembled in Senegal. They have tried to put capacity assembled in Senegal. They have not imported the tractors. Some tractors were imported, but they have now, most regions have assembly points. And now they are training Senegalese to be able to assemble these things, but again, to manufacture some of the alike or the implements, the components that goes with the tractors. You know, the tractor is one thing, but the farming implement is another thing. You see, these are things that they do. Now they are getting Senegalese to be the people that invest. The farmer might not have the capital, but another Senegalese in the diaspora or a businessman somewhere else have the capital. And now the creative condition environment, the creative cooperatives. Senegal have done the same thing in animal husbandry. Look at now how much of our meat comes from Senegal, because of they developed the animal husbandry. Now Senegalese are selling. During Tobasco or any other time in the Gambia, most of the meat product is imported from Senegal. Yeah, and again, you see tomato, and now most of the tomato consumed in Senegal is manufactured, is farm manufactured in Senegal. The best, whatever type of tomato you talk about, they have factories who are manufacturing and producing in Senegal. These are areas of agriculture, but we have seen Rwanda where they have a liberal economy, but they have protected. You see, they have gone to areas, they say, look, no second-hand clothes will be delivered into our country anymore. Yeah. This is to protect the people that produce. These are protect people that invest into the textile industry. What have Gambia done? They have protected a lot of other areas of the economy. They have empowered women to be able to produce and add value into their produce. You see, and as I was saying, why to emulate? Example of Rwanda is, people would realize that Rwanda changed their official language from French to English. Some people would think that it's only to spite the French, because of the government now. The Tutsi government is anti-France because the French were with Hutus. But it's not about that. The simple fact is, as I said, to develop a plan, you have to know yourself. You have to understand your strength. When they realized that during the genocide, the war, most of their technocrats were living in English-speaking countries. The diaspora in Uganda and other places were speaking English. Now our strength is in English. Why should we keep an official language that's not benefiting us? And if, in fact, English is the most advanced language of trade and commerce, now why should we not adopt? And they adopted English. But now, to a level of now, they have added what? Swahili. You see, the thinking, just as in Lebanon, they have Arabic as their official language, but they put English and French in order to compete. Education again. You see, we can say all those countries can be emulated. Botswana. You see, Botswana have been an example in Africa. The country that have done two things. That country that have used its mineral resources, the diamond, to make the most corrupt multinational companies in this world. that went into places like Sierra Leone and all the conflict areas and benefited due to the corruption and the incompetence of those citizens. But Botswana have come up, formulated policies, created a conducive environment, and said, look, if we are to produce our own diamonds, we want it processed here. We want the value added here. We want the product. We want this. And look, it has transformed Botswana. In tourism, Botswana used their culture. Botswana used their environment as a product of their tourism promotion. Gambia, what do we have to use? We have our environment have been destroyed. There's nothing Gambia have as a product right now to sell to the tourist industry. But Botswana have developed tourism in a sense that it's about their nature, it's about their animals, it's about their culture, it's about themselves, it's about their people, it's about their social capitals. And one of the things, very smart way of marketing and promotion they did, there was this program called The Only Lady Detective, something like that. You see, what people were watching it, enjoying it. But what we're doing is they were showing of their country. They were, product endorsement by showing the rural area. They didn't show the capitals. What they saw the rural area, the idyllic, the environment, the water. The water masses where you have birds, where you have the other safari. This thing. That's what they showed. The whole of the episodes is about showing the beauty of the country. But as Gambia, when we talk about tourism promotion, we go and bring drums and certain things and few things and the same tradition every time. Dance around and think that's enough to sell. How can we not sell the beauty of our country? It's not only the beaches we have that's beautiful, but obviously we would not want to sell the environment that is polluted. Because now all our environment is polluted. All of our combos, Mandinari, Gunjur, Kartong, every other environment is polluted. Where are we to sell? We don't have an environment to sell. Then there are a lot of African countries now are coming out. And they are coming out mainly, it's not due to their natural resources, it's due to their brain power. It's due to their people.
Coming to that, we have the natural resources. Why are we lacking behind them?
Because we don't have the human capital. We don't have the social capital. We don't build on our social capital. We don't utilize our human resources. It's not that we don't have it. As I keep on saying, we have competent Gambians. I can say, Gambia, as citizens, we can compete any other African country when it comes to any aspects. I have seen Gambians in the diaspora here and other places, and engineers, doctors, architects, any aspect of profession. Before you know it, go to the African Development Bank. See how much of the technocrats are Gambian. Go to the ECOWAS headquarters. See how many technocrats are Gambian. Go to Saudi Arabia. Go to Qatar. Go to all these countries that are developing and see how much of the technocrats are Gambians. Go to the city of London. See how many the financiers, experts, managers are Gambian. Go to Washington. Go to New York. Go to all these capitals, even in Kuala Lumpur, in Tokyo, in all these places. I'll tell you, you find Gambians running enterprise, Gambians running the company. How come we cannot attract these people? Because we don't have what it takes. If the environment is not enabling, professional Gambians would not venture into the Gambia, or would not engage the government, or would not invest in that country.
Suleiman, not much time left here, but coming to the topic, foreign investors in the Gambia. Gambia is a small, very rich country. And if you look at it, in a aspect, especially in the Congo, we got the manpower natural
the natural
resources.
resources,
Technical
the technical
know-how,
know-how, I would say, is what we're lacking.
What do we do?
Or how do we maintain this? How do we go about this? Okay, you see, as I said, I'll come back to this point and I'll elaborate a little bit more. You see, when I say our capitals, the human resource, and we have our human resource, we have to find a strategy to bring the human, we have to find a strategy to bring about our human resources. Okay, one of the strategies would be, if you take up a census to build a database, in order to showcase your human resources, you have to have a database to show it off. If the Gambian diaspora was audited, or census of the Gambian diaspora, and the census would capture the age, the gender, the education, the professionalism, professions of the Gambians in the diaspora. Then that database would be information enough to start to help to formulate a human resource capital. Then you can tell how many medical doctors do we have in the diaspora? How much of those medical doctors are gynecologists? How many of them are brain surgeons? How many of them are, other forms of medical? You'll have all these things, tabulated. Engineers, you will find out how many of these people are mechanical engineers, how many of these are civil engineers, how many of these are electrical engineers, how many of these are water engineers, how many of these people are whatever they are. How many of these governments are entrepreneurs? How many of these governments are this? We can have all these things as our resource capital. Then if we have the human resource, then we will find a strategy, an initiative to put in there. Now, this is an incentive to lure in Gambians, to give incentive to Gambians to come back to walk into the Gambia, to walk in the Gambia. Then if an industry want to open up in the Gambia and they look at our stats, what they would see, Gambia have enough human resources. If I want to operate here, my labor cost would be far the same. Sustainable. Because of Gambia have this human resource, yet they are not in the Gambia, but parallel to it, there is an initiative to bring these Gambians into the Gambia. And the Gambians have shown willingness, by taking part in this census, have shown willingness to engage their government and participate in the national development. The other thing is, you see, when we talk about natural resources, when we have this human resource, what do they do? In the blueprint, we have to plan. And when we plan, we map. Now, how can you plan when you don't know your human resource? How can you plan when you don't know your natural resource? I give an example. The Gambia government now cannot tell you what is available of land in that country for agriculture. The Gambia government today cannot tell you accurately what is available land for other use. The Gambia government today cannot tell you, they don't have any information on the water resources of the country. The Gambia government today, if I say resources of the water resources, they can tell you the depth of the river Gambia, of different locations. They cannot predict, they cannot give you a statistic to tell you in 5 years what's likely of the river Gambia. So what formation would it take? Would it expand? Would it narrow? Would it be more in depth? Would it be more shallow? What sort of these things? They don't study. We have not done these studies for centuries. When the last studies we have was the British. Then how can we invest? How can you attract investment in that water when you don't have these statistics ready for them to invest in? Now, look at the issue about land. We have to zone. We have not zonalized the country. We don't even have where we call residence and industry anymore. Gambians can walk in anywhere in the Gambia and demarcate land and sell that land. You see it everywhere now in the internet. All of Combo, you know, I laugh when people look at certain areas in Combo and think that there's enough land here. But they have not walked into that land to see the pegs. They are already owned by someone. Someone have already claimed that land. And we know that most of this transaction was done corruptly with local leaders. Some of these transactions were done corruptly with the previous government. But with this government, again, they are continuing with the local leaders and these government officers selling land or giving out land corruptly. What land do we have? Today, if you want to build a solar farm, the government cannot direct you straight away go down there because they are certain that they have the required measurements, they have the required this thing for you to put the farm. No. They might go up there and find out actually, yes, according to our master plan is this, but physically, realistically, it's not what is happening here. Actually, houses have been built here already. Because of the master plan have not been updated for years, because of the whole of the physical plan in the service and everything has been corrupted for the past 22 years and is continuing to be corrupted. You see, we don't even have the natural resources because we don't know it. You cannot have something you don't know. Now, we have just witnessed FAR coming out to say that, look, we haven't found anything that we thought we were going to find. That tells you the nature of investigating, the nature of finding out these things. How much investment have we put into find out what's in our marine resources? Gambia today cannot tell you exactly what do we have in our marine resources, but evidence are there. By the nature of the fish we see coming out now, we know that the fish stock has been finished because of we can't see the size of fish, the bunga and all the things. We have seen the local fishermen are going further into the sea to catch things that they used to catch in few meters away from the sea. You see, all these things would inform you that there's something not right here. The marine resources have been there, but do we have studies to that? Do we have anything to secure these things? No. Now, if we say that we are encouraging investment, we are doing this, we are fooling ourselves because we don't even have the statistics, we don't have the data. Even we don't know how many Gambians live in the Gambia. We are going with distorted figures. Then how can we develop the country if we don't even know how many Gambians live in the Gambia? What have we been done about these things? Because that's why I say we are continuing on where the dictator left it. And in that way, Gambia cannot see to deliver what we aspire to. Anything we have that comes to that country would not be serious investment. It would all be cowboy investment that would only benefit themselves, and the Gambian people and the Gambian government for that matter would not benefit.
Suleiman, this topic and this conversation will carry on and on. We're running out of time at the minute. We would definitely love to have needed. Talk about something else because we call nation building, and this is our bit to do as citizens of the Gambia to engage government, empower the people by educating them. I think this is the way we could get out of something. We could minimize some of these. But on that note, Suleiman, before we just leave you, what are your final thoughts on our very important topic, impact of foreign investment in the Gambia?
I hope the government will listen. I hope the government would put competent people with integrity, people with knowledge, people with the right mindset in position and review what we have inherited. We need to review. You see, as you live in the United Kingdom, and any government that comes in after any government would have to review what that government left behind. And it's a democracy. How can we inherit a dictatorship and we have not reviewed what we took up from the dictatorship? Gambia, we need to review we need to find out, we need a census, we need to find out actually how many Gambians live in the country, how many people, human beings even live in the Gambia. We don't know. We need to stop all development, most development on that land or issuing of land. Land freeze should happen, and some of this land need to be recapitalized and given back to the state or given back to communities, and make sure it's protected along those communities, and make sure that people are empowered to make sure anything that happens to this land is to the benefit of the community and benefit of the people of the Gambia. The government has to be serious, and the government has to move away from this continuity of doing business as usual. And the government has to look at its strength, and the strength of this government is its citizens, and those citizens the diaspora are part of. And this government has to realize that we cannot, develop our country depend on begging. We cannot have a strategy based on begging. And this government have to realize that we are a sovereign state. We might be small. We occupy a strategic location on this earth where we are today. We are advantaged in our size being a small country. We are advantaged in our size of being small country because of we can be easily stabilized. We can easily be progressive without social tensions. We have an advantage as English being a language. I hope the government would see the importance of education as the engine of growth, as the engine of economic development. I hope the government would see the need to develop the social institutions, the hospitals, and all those aspects, the criminal justice systems, and all those aspects of rule of law, and to be respectful of the due process of doing things. I hope this government will take good governance seriously. Without good governance, we cannot progress. There's no country that progress or develop without good governance. I'll tell you, you might start, but you will not be sustainable and you will not end. You only develop not based on your mineral resources, but you develop based on your people and the programs of actions you have. Thank you very much for inviting me on this program and the platform.
Mr. Suleiman, we would love to have you back here sometime very soon, because this is something that we need to empower people. The only way we empower people is like educating our people how to talk about things, which I could say not eradicate, but minimize some of these that is affecting our country. That note, thank you very much for your time, energy, and contribution to this very important topic. We will have to thank our viewers whose comments and people watching on the minute, and the radio and the minute. Thank you so much for being there.
I just want to interject there. I realize you hesitated to say that we can develop that country beyond unthinkable. I will tell you, all governments should have this audacity to say that country can be transformed to a country that will be envied, not only in Africa but in the world. I'll tell you, it's realistic, and it's not based on myths or about the mineral resources we have. It's based on the people we have. And if we have good governance, and I am confident that we have the people that can develop that country, and we are fortunate to locate where we are locating. We are fortunate to have the people we have. We have something unique. Yes, we might have our small scramble in our differences, and most of it is due to poor leadership. If we have the required leadership, I'll tell you that country can be transformed, where that governments would not be beggars, but governments would be a country that been envied. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm available whenever it's possible to come to the platform. It's a pleasure to come to this platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Suleiman. Thank you, both. Thank you.
That's it tonight for this. That's it for this program. Thank you all for being there, for your comments and contribution. That brings us to the end of this program. This has been Mustafa Jame and Ben Suleiman Ben Soare. Till we come your way, same place, same frequency, which is Sky Power FM Radio. Thank you so much for being there. Have a good night. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.